Look closely. Countless colorful meteors are streaking across the sky. In the next moment, a massive explosion erupts ahead, sending a shockwave that plunges the bright day into darkness. The city is engulfed in smoke. A terrified woman approaches a soldier who's urgently calling for backup. Suddenly, the soldier disappears. Oh my God, something pulls him up into the sky. The woman panics and stumbles forward, finally hiding behind a car. From the mist, a monstrous figure emerges. Before the man can finish his words, the monster lunges and grabs him with terrifying speed. The woman wants to escape this nightmare, but as she takes a few steps, another explosion rocks the ground. When she regains consciousness, a man, Henry, quickly covers her mouth, signaling her to stay quiet. She glances around and sees they're in a theater. People are desperately tending to their wounds, but no one dares to make a sound. To her surprise, her nurse Reuben is there too. But where the hell did this monster come from? This monster boasts an outer ear with skin so tough, even human cannons can't penetrate it. Its middle ear is composed of 10,000 minuscule bones that amplify every sound, while the inner ear is a labyrinth of over 1 million neurons that connect directly to the brain. It hears everything within a 6.2-mile radius, detecting even the faintest tremors in the air. With no eyes, it uses sound to create images in its mind. In a grim future world overrun by monsters, making any noise means death. The woman named Sam has cancer and limited time left. Her only companion is her cat, Frodo. Finally able to escape the nursing home for a pizza, her nurse Reuben insists she hurry back before it's too late. On the ride, Sam notices something off. Everyone's heads snap around as a deafening explosion shatters the air, and the monster takes control of the world. Inside the theater, a police voice blares a warning, urging everyone to stay silent, but the loudspeaker attracts the monster's attention. Sounds erupt around the theater, and terrified, Frodo bolts toward the exit. Sam rushes after him, watching out for the sharp glass shards that could betray her every move. Everyone holds their breath. Suddenly, Frodo hits a bell, and the monster comes crashing in. Sam leaps forward and manages to scoop up Frodo just before the monster enters. In this small town, you mustn't make a sound. The monster slinks into the theater and stops right in front of Nurse Reuben, eyeing him like a hungry predator. Sam watches, heart pounding, relieved when the loudspeaker outside blares again, distracting the monster. That night, Sam spots people scrambling to the rooftop, only to learn that the police have blown up all the bridges to prevent the monster from reaching other cities. They're trapped. A man, realizing he's been abandoned, rather than live in fear, he screams that they're all doomed. Henry desperately tries to muffle him, but the man's determination to scream is stronger. In a horrific turn of events, Henry accidentally kills him, sending him to meet his fate. Late at night, the theater suddenly loses power and the backup generator kicks in. Reuben scrambles to shut it down, believing he's finally safe. Just as he does, his clothes snag, producing a sickening sound. He spins around only to be instantly devoured by the monster. Sam, trembling with fear, clamps her hand over her mouth, terrified she might be next. The next day, Sam steps back onto the street. These monsters are incredibly brutal, with skin nearly impervious to any weapons. They begin to slaughter humans on a massive scale, and overnight the entire city crumbles into a desolate wasteland, littered with rubble and abandoned cars. Suddenly, the police loudspeaker blares again, notifying survivors of an evacuation point at the southern harbor, assuring them that the monsters can't swim. The repeating announcement draws the monsters' attention, and they roam through the city, explosions echoing all around. Sam hides in the basement, turning away and not daring to look back. Thankfully, the monsters don't find her. When she finally steps back onto the street, she sees people flocking toward the harbor. But after a brief moment of hesitation, she turns in a completely different direction. The pizza place still calls to her. As people try to stay quiet, it's impossible not to make any noise with so many around. The monsters catch on and suddenly lunge at the crowd, triggering a wave of terrified screams. This is exactly what the monsters want. A crowd like this is a feast waiting to happen. Everyone pushes and shoves to escape, and Sam gets knocked down. She quickly covers her head and crawls under a car. Suddenly, a hand clutches her foot, a voice screaming for help, but in an instant, he's yanked away by a monstrous claw. These monsters sweep across the earth using their acute hearing. Their skin is so tough that no human weapon can inflict harm. Just as Sam narrowly escapes, a monster's arrival causes a tire to burst, pinning her foot beneath it. She musters all her strength to pull it free and limps forward, stumbling into a narrow alley where she can catch her breath. Meanwhile, Frodo spots a man hiding in the water. With Frodo leading the way, they reunite. The man has been trailing Sam, and under the cover of the pouring rain, they dare to speak quietly. He's Eric, an English law student, escapes a flooded subway station. Sam points him toward the harbor and tells him not to follow her anymore, but panic clouds his judgment. Reluctantly, Sam leads him back to her house, but the key she usually hides under the welcome mat is gone. With thunder crashing overhead, Eric kicks the door open with desperate force. They take refuge for a day, finally finding a moment of peace. In this rare moment of safety, they finally let go of the emotions they've been suppressing amid the chaos. The next day, Sam wakes up first, taking Frodo with her to the pizza place. As she glances at the books on the street, she suddenly senses something behind her. Turning cautiously, she sees Eric has followed her. "Don't make a sound, otherwise the monster will chase you down." But as Sam rises, she inadvertently knocks over a book. In an instant, a low growl rumbles nearby. They sprint toward the building, but the revolving door is jammed. Eric shoves against it with all his might, and the briefcase falls, making a loud noise. The monster is quick to respond. Inside the building, they dart through the halls. Fortunately, the sound of shattering glass masks their frantic escape, and Eric smashes a car window, the crash echoing loudly to distract the creature, giving them the chance to slip into the subway entrance. But another monster lurks in the shadows below. They hold their breath and swiftly veer into a tunnel filled with water. Perfect, since the monster can't swim. They quietly submerge, moving cautiously through the murky water. To their horror, they spot a massive monster resting just above them. While the rushing water offers some cover, passing beneath its gaze sends Eric's heart racing. Sam whispers urgently, urging him to stay calm. The monster is drawn in by the sound, looming right in front of them. Eric takes a deep breath, but a slight noise escapes him, catching the monster's attention. It lunges forward, and they frantically scramble to swim ahead. The monster doesn't relent, closing the distance with terrifying speed. In sheer panic, they plunge underwater where the monster loses its advantage. After a few frantic splashes, it goes still, allowing them to slip through another opening. After a relentless chase, Sam's body nears its breaking point, racked by the pain of her cancer. Eric decides to venture out to find her some painkillers. The pharmacy stands deserted, yet he quickly finds what he needs. Everything seems to go smoothly. On his way back, Frodo suddenly bolts toward an abandoned factory. With no other choice, Eric follows. Inside, he quickly realizes that monsters lurk in the shadows. He ducks behind a pillar, heart racing as he narrowly avoids detection. Catching sight of the cat scaling a high structure, Eric follows, desperate to keep up. But the monster has found its next meal and summons others, drastically raising the stakes for Eric. Eric finds himself surrounded by monsters. As he crawls forward, one suddenly appears nearby, ears perked up, listening intently. He freezes, holding his breath, relief washing over him as it moves past without noticing. As the monster moves on, he quickly scoops up Frodo and dashes home, applying the painkillers to Sam, who finally starts to show signs of recovery. The next day, they finally reach the pizza place Sam has longed for. But it lies in ruins, ravaged by gunfire, with no pizza in sight. Instead, they turn to the bar next door. This is where Sam's father used to play piano, and after each performance, he would always treat her to a slice of pizza. Since her father passed away from cancer, this place has become a sanctuary for her, a bittersweet reminder of their time together. In a heartwarming gesture, Eric suddenly produces a makeshift pizza for Sam. As she takes a bite, it feels like a moment of healing, a taste of normalcy amidst chaos. He even dazzles her with a silent card trick. In that bleak world filled with monsters, they find solace in each other's presence, rekindling a long-lost warmth that brightens the darkness. The entire city is overrun by monsters, and the only chance for survival is to board a cargo ship. Sam strips off her sweater and hands it to Eric, both of them crouching behind a truck. The cargo ship's sounds pull the monsters nearer, and with every cautious step, the creatures close in. From the moment Sam removes her sweater, she resolves to give Eric a chance at life. With her cancer consuming her and time slipping away, she reluctantly hands her beloved cat, Frodo, to him. Tears well up in Eric's eyes as he witnesses her heartbreaking sacrifice. Sam grabs a metal rod and bangs it against a nearby car, deliberately drawing the monster's attention to herself, buying Eric a precious moment to flee. The monsters surge toward Sam, and Eric seizes the moment, zigzagging as he sprints toward the harbor. Sam keeps her eyes on him as the monsters close in. With more creatures chasing him, he makes a desperate leap, diving into the water just before a claw can snag him. The monsters can only watch helplessly from the shore, their growls echoing as their prey escapes. Eric clutches Frodo tightly as he finally boards the cargo ship. He embraces a fellow survivor, relief and joy flooding through him. While rummaging through his pockets, he finds a note from Sam, urging him to care for Frodo and expressing heartfelt thanks for everything he has done. Meanwhile, Sam gazes at a cherished photo of herself and her father, memories of their shared joy flooding back. Perhaps it's time to finally reunite with him. She steps into the street, pulling out the headphone cord, ready to embrace whatever comes next. Though Sam has passed, the monsters linger. These monsters sweep across the world with their acute hearing, and in just a few months, 95% of humanity has fallen victim to their wrath. The few lucky survivors live in constant fear of sound. Even a quiet burp or a soft fart could seal their fate. In this brutal reality, Lee and his family of 5 huddle in the suburbs, cautiously living day by day, staying silent to avoid detection. Yet monsters still lurk nearby. During a supply run in town, Lee's youngest son, Bo, inadvertently makes a noise with his toy plane, and in an instant, a monster pounces, taking his life. In a desperate bid to save his 2 children, Lee shouts, drawing the monster's lethal gaze toward himself, sacrificing his own life in the process. Their daughter Reagan discovers that using her hearing aid to emit infrasound weakens the monsters, but their small home is soon exposed, forcing the family to flee in search of safety. They reach an abandoned factory, but as they round a corner, their old neighbor Emmett suddenly silences Evelyn, covering her mouth. Don't make a sound. Behind Evelyn, another monster approaches. Emmett quickly scoops up kids, and they zigzag, darting left and right, just narrowly escaping into the basement as the creature looms behind. That night, Reagan cracks the code of the music, uncovering coordinates that lead to a small island nearby. She realizes she might have a way to defeat the monsters, using the broadcast to unleash the infrasound from her hearing aid, potentially wiping them out. With newfound determination, she and Emmett embark on their dangerous mission. Meanwhile, as Evelyn returns with supplies, she notices the entrance has been damaged and quickly realizes the monsters are closing in. She places an oxygen tank on some gasoline, firing a shot to lure the monster out, then detonates it, setting off a massive blaze. Shock, the monster withstands the heat. In that critical moment, the flames activate the sprinkler system, creating enough water noise to mask her movements. Evelyn carefully navigates past the creature and manages to rescue the 2 unconscious kids, pulling them to safety. In a future world overrun by monsters, which are invulnerable yet unable to swim, Emmett and Reagan finally reach the island. Here, they find a peaceful community, and the island's leader, Rock, shares the story of how 12 boats tried to escape from the dock, but the chaos attracted the monsters, leaving only 2 boats that made it safely to the island. But Emmett soon uncovers a terrifying truth. One monster has drifted to the island. As it wreaks havoc, Rock deliberately makes noise to lure it away from the camp. They race to the broadcast station, but in a tragic turn, Rock accidentally utters a sound, sealing his fate. Reagan connects her hearing aid to the radio, unleashing the infrasound again, sending the monster into a frenzy of agony. This bold move not only saves Reagan and Emmett, but also empowers Evelyn and Reagan's younger brother Marcus, who arm themselves and fight back against the remaining monsters. Through their combined efforts, a flicker of hope emerges. Perhaps one day, the monsters can be eradicated for good. This film is A Quiet Place Part 3. I highly recommend the original films. That's all for today's content. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.